Hello there. So, fake Lego minifigures are a big problem. In fact, last year, the general manager of the Asian division of Lego failed to identify between a fake minifigure and a real one. I've been to toy fairs and comic conventions where fake Lego minifigures are being sold on stalls. As we know, eBay is flooded with fake minifigures, and the problem is these things are difficult to tell from the real thing, so I thought in this video I would tell you how to tell the difference between real and fake Lego minifigures. So I have a real and a fake one here, and I will do close-ups of these, which I'm sure you are seeing now. And at first glance, they look pretty well the same. But putting these aside just for a moment, there are some kind of bigger, more general things to do when you're buying a minifigure. So the stands I'm talking about at toy fairs, where you have tables full of minifigures for sale, if that stall doesn't mention anywhere the word Lego, be extremely suspicious. People know that there is a difference between the real and the fake stuff. And so when people are selling genuine Lego minifigures, they will generally put a sign up on their stall saying genuine Lego minifigures. The sellers of that fake Lego know that if they were to put the word Lego on their stalls, they would be actively participating in selling counterfeit items. They'd be trying to pass something that's fake off as Lego when it isn't. And I guess their mentality is that if they don't mention the word Lego, then they're not breaking any rules. Now, I don't think that is the case, because I think Lego minifigures actually have a patent associated with them. Or is it patent? I never get that right. And also, things like the Lego Star Wars minifigures, they are licensed to Disney. So you can't just kind of sell those and not mention the word Lego and think that you're all right. But anyway, just for the purpose of identifying the fakes, make sure that they've got Lego written on their stands. The stalls with fake Lego minifigures on tend to have a huge selection, because obviously they're not worth anything, so they can get a huge range of these minifigures, stick them on their stand and put £2 each on them. So watch out for that as well. They're the sort of broad things to look out for, but there is a very specific thing to look out for. The easiest thing in my mind when looking at a stall that's selling fake Lego minifigures, and that is actually the little stand that the minifigures are standing on. So this one has got Lego Star Wars written on it. I have never seen a fake Lego minifigure with that on it. They will have a different logo or no text, but the biggest giveaway by far is whether or not there is Lego written on the studs. If in doubt, ask the seller whether or not they're real minifigures. But now let's actually look at the minifigures themselves, which I've got here. Obviously they've got different guns, and that's not because they came with different guns, it's because I've given them different guns. So we can't use that to tell them apart. So the real minifigure here is on the right, and there's just a lot more detail in the printing on his body than there is on the fake one on the left. There's a larger range of shades of grey, 50 shades of grey in fact, no maybe not, on the right hand minifigure here. So you can see there is a light grey underneath his chest. You can see that light grey in his kind of utility belt at the bottom there as well. And the same is true on his helmet. You can see a light grey on the side of his helmet there. Now this is good if you have a real minifigure to compare to, but if you haven't got the real version, how are you supposed to tell them apart? Well, there are a couple of things you can still do. Now I don't know whether or not you can see this, but actually the plastics are different on these two minifigures. So on the real one on the right, the plastic is really quite white, and although it is shiny, it's got a sort of matte effect to it. It's not incredibly shiny. If you look at the fake minifigure, it looks more a slight yellow tint to it, and it is much more shiny. In fact, if you look at his legs particularly, they look very, very cheap. Just cheap, shiny plastic, basically. The hands of the fake minifigures can be very cheap too. These ones aren't that bad. On many of the fake minifigures, the hands can be very, very thin and would almost probably snap off if you try to take them out of the arms. Now let's take the helmets off these minifigures. So if I take the helmet off the real one and the helmet off the fake one, the first thing to notice actually is that the helmet comes off more easily on the Lego one. I'm not sure why that is, but it seemed to be really quite tightly on to the fake one. Now if you look at their faces, it's quite difficult to tell, but the printing is ever so slightly better on the real one. The face is higher on the fake one, and also actually now I look at it on their heads, the head has a seam running all the way around the top, which the real one doesn't have, or at least it's not as obvious on the real one. So that's quite a good way to tell them apart. Now if you take the actual head off the minifigure, which is a little bit barbaric, but I'll do it anyway, the real minifigure here has a sort of black mark on the neck, which they don't always have, to be honest, but this one does, and that isn't present on the fake. But by far the easiest way to tell these apart, and the one that you can use as an absolute failsafe to identify whether or not you're looking at a fake minifigure, is to now look at the top of the neck. So on the top of the neck of the real Lego minifigure, it says Lego. At the top of the neck on the fake minifigure, it doesn't say anything. There's just a manufacturing sort of sprue mark. And thankfully, Lego hasn't just limited it to the torso of the minifigures. If you take the torso off and look at the top of the leg parts, you can see that it says Lego, and on the fake it says FG. I don't really know what that means. And it's not just limited to the, whatever you'd call those, the Lego underpants. This is probably the hardest one to see, but if you look in the bottom of the legs, it does actually say Lego in the sort of inset inside the bottom of his feet, and obviously it doesn't say it in the fake one. So that's it really. They're the differences between the fake and the real Lego minifigures. I hope this helps you identify between them and stops you buying a fake when you thought you were buying a real one. Let me know if you've got any additional tips down below. I would say that if you are after a cheap Lego minifigure, the best place to go is Bricklink. eBay is just too flooded with the fakes for it to be kind of worthwhile. But Bricklink sellers tend to be very, very passionate about real Lego, so go and check that out. And I have actually made a guide in the past about how to buy cheap Lego from Bricklink, and I'll leave a link to that down below as well. I'm going to leave some videos here which are relevant to this one, so do check those out if you enjoyed this video. Do subscribe, and I shall see you next time for another video.